There's a moment every trader hits, and it feels like the world is collapsing in slow motion. You wake up, open your laptop, and stare at your account balance like maybe, just maybe, the numbers are wrong. You refresh the screen. Nope. Still red. Still ugly. And the worst part? You already promised yourself this wouldn't happen again. You said you'd be disciplined this time. You said you'd follow the plan. But somehow, here you are again, caught in another losing streak that feels like a bad dream you can't wake up from. You sit there thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just trade like I know I should? That question alone, that little whisper of self-doubt, is the point most traders hit right before they change. Because that's when the pain finally gets loud enough. That's when you stop blaming the market, the news, the broker, the setup, and start realizing maybe it's not out there. Maybe it's in here. Everyone talks about the excitement of trading, the adrenaline, the freedom. No one really talks about the hangover that comes after a losing streak. The emotional weight, the guilt, the constant thought of, I could have done better. You replay every trade in your head like you're reviewing your own failure reel. And the more you try to fix it, the worse it gets. That's the trap, the just one more trade trap. You think you're being logical. You think you're trying to make back what you lost. But what you're really doing is trying to make back your dignity. You're not trading to win. You're trading to feel right again. And that's when the market always wins. Because the truth is, every losing streak is emotional debt. You owe yourself trust, confidence, and discipline, but instead of paying it back slowly, you keep borrowing more pain with bad decisions. You don't realize it, but you start making trades out of desperation. You want to stop the bleeding, not realize you're cutting deeper. And I know exactly how that feels. You tell yourself, I'll just take this one trade to end the day green. Then you size up. You ignore the stop. You justify it. And when it goes against you, your brain goes straight into panic mode. You start moving stops, praying to the chart, refreshing the screen like it's going to change something. And by the end of the day, you're not even mad, you're just numb. That numbness is worse than the loss itself. Because it's not just your money that's gone, it's your belief that you can do this. You sit there with 1,000 questions and no answers. But let me tell you something I wish someone had told me. That numbness, that hopelessness, that's the beginning of awareness. It's not the end. It's the start. Because nobody changes while they're comfortable. We only change when the pain of staying the same becomes unbearable. You don't transform because a motivational quote hits you on Instagram. You transform when you realize you can't keep living the same cycle. There's a day every trader hits when they just get sick of their own excuses. You know that feeling. That moment when you look in the mirror and say, enough. That's when the real trader starts to emerge. Not the one who's chasing setups or copying signals. The one who finally decides to take responsibility. The truth is, the market isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. It reflects every flaw you're trying to hide. Your greed, your fear, your lack of patience, your ego. That's why it hurts so much when you lose. It's not the money. It's what the money says about you. It's like the market is calling you out, showing you the parts of yourself you've been ignoring. But here's the thing. That mirror doesn't lie. And if you have the courage to look into it without flinching, you'll see the very thing that's been holding you back. You'll see your patterns, the revenge trades, the moments you couldn't sit still, the impulsive clicks you justified as gut feeling. You'll see it all. And it's uncomfortable, but that's exactly where the growth begins. You want to know the first real step out of a losing streak? Stop trading for a bit. Seriously. Close your charts. Log out. Go do something boring. Walk, journal, clean your space. Anything that forces you to break the emotional loop. Because right now, your mind is wired to react, not respond. And until you reset that system, every trade you take will just feed the same cycle. Grab a notebook. Write down the last 10 trades that went wrong. Not the technical reasons, the real reasons. Write down every emotional trigger. FOMO, greed, boredom, impatience. Then look at that list and realize something powerful. That list isn't your downfall. It's your diagnosis. It's the roadmap out. You're not broken. You're just undisciplined under pressure. There's a difference. Every single great trader you admire, they've all been here. They've all blown accounts, doubted themselves, and felt like quitting. The difference is they didn't escape the pain. They studied it. They used it. And that's what you're about to do. You see, the losing streak isn't punishment. It's feedback. It's the market's way of saying, hey, something in your process isn't aligned. It's not trying to destroy you. It's trying to refine you. But to hear that message, you have to stop reacting long enough to listen. Here's the raw truth. You'll never fix your trading by forcing more trades. You'll fix it by fixing the person making those trades. You'll fix it when you stop needing every trade to prove something about you. You'll fix it when you stop equating a red day with failure and a green day with worthiness. So take a breath. Forgive yourself. Every trader you look up to has gone through this same season. The only difference is they didn't quit when it got quiet. They leaned into it. If you can make a promise to yourself, for the next 30 days, you're not trading for money, you're trading for mastery, your entire life can change. Not just your results, but the way you think, feel, and respond. Because consistency doesn't come from the charts. It comes from who you become between the trades. And I know it sounds cliché, but this is the moment where you start rebuilding. This is where you draw the line and say, no more emotional trades. No more self-sabotage. No more pretending this isn't my fault. This is where the losing streak turns into a lesson. Every great trader has their breaking point. You might be in yours right now. But that's okay. That's how it starts for all of us. This is where pain becomes progress. So sit with it. Feel it. Let it teach you what you've been too stubborn to learn. Because this isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your comeback. You ever get to that point where you're just sick of your own excuses? Like you wake up one morning, look at your account, and think, bro, what are we even doing here? That was me. Same cycle. Same mistakes. I'd tell myself, all right, this week, I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to trade like a professional. And then by Tuesday, I'd be chasing some random candle like a caffeine-fueled lunatic. Every time I'd lose, I'd swear I learned my lesson. But then the next trade came along, and boom, back to the same chaos. It's funny, because I didn't actually need another trading book or another course. What I needed was to stop lying to myself. To stop pretending that next time was going to magically fix anything. So I came up with this stupid idea one night. I called it the 30-day reset. No new strategy, no new indicators, just one rule. For the next 30 days, I would trade like I was already profitable. That was it. That was the whole thing. And that one sentence changed everything. Because if you think about it, when you imagine a consistent, profitable trader, do you see them panic clicking buy and sell 10 times a day? Do you see them trying to double their account overnight? No. You see someone calm, collected, almost boring. So I told myself, all right, for 30 days, I'm going to be that guy. And to make sure I actually followed through, I made this weird little accountability trick. I called it the discipline jar. Every day I followed my trading rules, I'd throw $1 into the jar. Every time I broke a rule, I had to take $2 out and literally give it away. And let me tell you something. Losing actual money for being an idiot? That hits different. I'd rather take a losing trade than give away money because I broke my own rule. The first few days were brutal. Every part of me wanted to overtrade. Every candle looked like a sure thing. And my brain kept whispering, just this one. This setup looks good. But I didn't. And when I actually held my ground, something clicked. I realized that I wasn't fighting the market. I was fighting myself. By day 5, I could literally feel my brain trying to trick me. It was like having this little devil on my shoulder saying, come on, you're missing out. Look, it's breaking out. And the angel on the other side was just sitting there sipping coffee like, yeah, sure, and how did that work out last time? Day 7, I started to notice something wild. The market didn't feel as chaotic anymore. Same charts, same setups, but my reactions changed. It was like watching the same movie, but this time you already know the ending. That's when I started journaling, but not just trades. I started journaling feelings. Every time I felt that urge, that twitch in my hand to click buy, I'd write it down. Why did I feel that way? Was it boredom? FOMO? Trying to make back a loss? I called it my trigger journal. And bro, when I looked back after a week, I saw patterns. It wasn't the market killing me, it was me. Same emotions, same behaviors, same triggers. You ever notice how it's never the random trades that destroy you? It's always that one decision you make after you're frustrated or angry or trying to prove something. We love saying, the market is unpredictable. But the truth is, we're the unpredictable ones. The market's consistent. It just moves. We're the ones who keep getting in our own way. Around day 10, I took a loss, but something felt different. I didn't panic. I didn't try to revenge trade. I literally said, cool. That's part of the plan. Closed the trade. Went for a walk. And that's when I realized that was progress. Not the profit, the control. Because that's what real trading is. It's not about being right. It's about staying stable. By week 3, I started to see results, not crazy profits, but consistent green days. Tiny wins that stacked up. And more importantly, no blowups. But here's what really shocked me. Trading started to feel calm, almost boring. And at first, I thought I was doing something wrong. Like, wait, why doesn't this feel exciting anymore? But that's when it hit me. That is the goal. Professional trading isn't supposed to feel exciting. It's supposed to feel stable, predictable, routine. It's not about chasing highs. It's about mastering rhythm. See, everyone's chasing the thrill of the big win. But the real win is when you no longer need that thrill to stay disciplined. And that's what the 30-day reset taught me. That discipline isn't this thing you have. It's something you train. Every time you choose patience over impulse, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're teaching it that calm equals reward. And once your brain associates peace with progress, you stop needing chaos to feel like you're doing something. By the last week, I wasn't thinking about money anymore. I was thinking about execution. I was tracking consistency like a sport. Some days I lost, but I didn't care. Because I knew I followed the plan. And every time I followed the plan, I got stronger. That was the real shift. From trying to win trades to trying to win the day. And once you start focusing on that, on winning the day, the results take care of themselves. I'll tell you something real. That 30-day challenge wasn't even about trading anymore. It was about self-respect. It was about finally keeping a promise to myself. Because once you do that, once you prove to yourself that you can follow through, it spills into everything else. You start eating better, sleeping better. Your focus sharpens. You stop needing motivation because you've got momentum. That's when trading stops being this emotional roller coaster and starts becoming a mirror. The market starts showing you who you are. And for the first time, I liked the reflection. By the end of those 30 days, I realized something crazy. The market hadn't changed. The setups were the same. The volatility was the same. The only thing that changed was me. That's when I understood. Trading doesn't get easier. You get stronger. And that strength doesn't come from a new strategy. It comes from doing the same small right thing every single day until it becomes your nature. It's funny how progress messes with your head. You start doing everything right for a while, journaling, following your plan, staying patient, and you actually start to feel proud of yourself. You start thinking, finally, I've cracked the code. But then out of nowhere, the universe, or maybe the market gods, decide it's time to humble you again. That's exactly what happened around day 31. My 30-day reset was officially over. I was feeling good, calm, confident, a little too confident if I'm being honest. Because the next few days, it was like the market knew I was feeling myself, and it came for me. The first losing day didn't hurt. I was chill. I followed my plan. But then came the second loss. Then a third. And by the fourth red day in a row, I could feel that old energy creeping back in. That little voice whispering, "Bro, are we really doing all this discipline stuff just to lose again?" It's wild how fast doubt sneaks in after a few losses. It doesn't matter how strong your mindset is. When the market starts smacking you back to back, your brain starts spinning stories. Maybe the market's changed. Maybe my edge isn't working. Maybe I should just take this one setup that looks different. And just like that, I started feeling the pullback, not on the chart, but inside me. That's what I call it now, the emotional pullback phase. It's that point where your progress gets tested, where discipline meets temptation, where your old habits knock on the door like, "Hey, miss me." Because let's be honest, you don't go from chaos to control in a straight line. It's not a staircase. It's more like a heartbeat. Up, down, up again. On day 35, I remember sitting in front of my screen, staring at this setup that looked perfect. Everything in my trading plan said, Don't take it. It's not your setup. But everything in my body was screaming. Just one trade. Come on, it's been days since you won something big. I could literally feel the war inside me. The rational part of my brain versus the emotional part. And if you've ever traded, emotion doesn't whisper. It yells. That's the moment that separates amateurs from professionals. Not the winning trade. Not the perfect entry. It's that exact second when you either break your own rules or stand your ground. And I wish I could tell you I stayed strong. But nope. I took the trade. And guess what? It tanked. Instantly. I just sat there laughing. Because I knew that wasn't the market punishing me. That was me punishing myself. So I closed the laptop, went for a walk, came back and looked at my notes from the 30-day reset. And one line jumped out at me. Progress isn't about perfection. It's about recovery. That hit hard. Because the real test of progress isn't whether you never slip. It's how fast you get back on track after you do. So, the next morning, I did something new. I made a rule called the 15-minute rule. Whenever I take a loss or make a mistake, I give myself exactly 15 minutes to feel it, to be mad, annoyed, frustrated, and then it's over. No more carrying that energy into the next trade. Because if you think about it, most traders don't blow up because of one bad trade. They blow up because of what they do after the bad trade. It's not the punch that knocks you out. It's the one you didn't see coming after you lost focus. By week 6, I started to understand what this phase was really about. It wasn't the market testing me. It was me testing me. It's easy to stay disciplined when everything's working. It's easy to meditate and journal and talk about patience when your trades are green. But the real game starts when everything stops working, when you're doing everything right and the results still don't show up. That's when most traders quit. That's when they say, maybe I'm not cut out for this. But that's also the exact moment where the winners are born. Because discipline isn't built in good times, it's forged in resistance. When you're walking through fire and still choose not to flinch. I started noticing something powerful during that phase. Even though my results weren't great, my emotions didn't swing as hard anymore. Losing didn't crush me. Winning didn't hype me up too much. I was starting to feel balanced. That's when I realized, consistency isn't about your strategy. It's about your state. You can't have consistent results with an inconsistent mind. You can't be steady on the chart if you're chaotic off it. So, I started focusing on me again, not the market. I stopped checking P&L midday. Stopped watching every little move on the chart. Instead, I asked myself one question after every session. Did I trade my plan? If the answer was yes, that was a win, even if the trade lost. Because once you start grading yourself by behavior instead of outcome, the pressure disappears. You stop needing the market to validate you. And that's when something amazing happens. You actually start improving faster. I remember on day 42, I had one of those aha moments. I lost 3 trades in a row, but all of them were clean, disciplined, exactly according to plan. And when I reviewed them later, I realized if I took the same trades 100 times, they'd still be good setups. That's when I said to myself, all right, maybe this is what consistency really feels like. Not fireworks, not excitement, just quiet confidence. And you know what? That's powerful. Because when you stop needing the market to make you feel good, you finally start trading like someone who belongs here. The emotional pullback phase didn't break me, it refined me. It forced me to decide what kind of trader I wanted to be. Someone who reacts, or someone who responds. It reminded me that emotions don't go away. You just get better at managing them. You learn to let them exist without letting them drive. Because in trading, your emotions aren't the enemy. Your attachment to them is. By the end of that phase, I realized something deep. Winning streaks don't test you. Losing streaks don't either. It's the in-between, the slow, frustrating, nothing-happening days that reveal who you really are. That's where patience either collapses or compounds. That's where traders either go back to old habits or step into a new identity. And for the first time, I chose to hold the line. That's the emotional pullback phase. It's uncomfortable. It's humbling. But it's also the bridge between trying to be consistent and becoming consistent. The next part of this journey, that's where things start changing for real. Not just mentally, but financially. Because once your emotions stop running the show, Your results finally start catching up. There's a strange thing that happens after you've been through the fire. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop chasing certainty. You stop trying to make the market do what you want. And somewhere in that surrender, you finally start to see it. That's what I call the shift. It's that moment when your mind stops fighting the market and starts flowing with it. It's not something you can force. It's not like you wake up one day and say, "Today, I'm aligned with the market." Nah, it sneaks up on you. Usually after months of frustration, self-doubt, and enough emotional pain to make you either quit or evolve. For me, it happened quietly. No big breakthrough. No aha moment. Just this calm morning where I opened my charts, and for the first time, I wasn't desperate to find a trade. I wasn't trying to predict. I wasn't even thinking about money. I was just observing. The market moved and I moved with it. If it didn't offer my setup, I didn't feel that twitch to force it. If it went against me, I didn't panic. If it went my way, I didn't start calculating how much I'd make. And that's when I realized I'd stopped reacting and started responding. You know how they say the best surfers don't fight the wave, they ride it? That's what trading started to feel like. Instead of trying to control the ocean, I just focused on my balance. I think that's the biggest mental shift a trader can have. Realizing the market doesn't owe you anything, but it also doesn't hate you. It's not your enemy. It's not your friend. It just is. Your job isn't to outsmart it. It's to understand yourself enough not to get washed away by it. When that clicked, my whole approach changed. I stopped obsessing over every tick. Stopped changing strategies every week. Stopped comparing my journey to random traders on Twitter flexing their P&L. Instead, I started focusing on something else: execution rhythm. Every morning, same ritual. Journal. Plan. Review yesterday. Trade my setups. Walk away. No hype. No drama. Just flow. It sounds boring, but it's beautiful. Because in that boring rhythm, I started feeling confident again. Not the fake, I'm gonna get rich confidence, but the quiet kind that comes from consistency. You ever notice how all the best traders sound boring when they talk about what they do? They're not hyping entries. They're not screaming by the dip. They're talking about process, risk, patience. That's what the shift does. It takes you from chasing dopamine to chasing discipline, from wanting excitement to wanting peace. By that time, I had this one day that really sealed it for me. I took 2 trades that day. The first one, textbook setup. It lost. The second one, same setup. It won big. When I closed that second trade, I realized something. My emotional state didn't change between the two. I didn't celebrate the win. I didn't mourn the loss. I just executed, logged, moved on. And that's when I said out loud, this is it. This is what it feels like to finally trade without baggage. It's like the market became a mirror. Whatever emotion I brought into it, it reflected back at me. When I was calm, it felt easy. When I was desperate, it felt cruel. When I was patient, it felt generous. And that's when I understood. You don't control the market with knowledge. You align with it through state. Because once your inner state matches the rhythm of the market, uncertainty doesn't scare you anymore. You expect it. You respect it. You even kind of enjoy it. I remember a time when every trade felt like a battle. Now it felt like a dance. The losses, just part of the choreography. The wins, a rhythm you catch for a moment before the next step. When your mind aligns with the market, trading stops being a game of prediction and becomes a game of patience. You start thinking long-term, not because someone told you to, but because your emotions finally matured. The shift taught me something deep. Consistency isn't about controlling the outcome. It's about mastering your response to the outcome. When I finally internalized that, I stopped treating trading like a slot machine. I started treating it like meditation. Each click became an act of awareness. Each decision, a reflection of self-control. And funny enough, once I stopped chasing money, the money started coming in quietly. Not huge numbers, not overnight success, but consistent, smooth, almost invisible growth. You see, most traders want instant success. But trading doesn't reward intensity, it rewards stability. You can't force consistency. You earn it through emotional neutrality. There's this quote I love. In markets, the less you need, the more you make. It's true. The less I needed to win, the more clearly I saw the setups. The less I needed to be right, the faster I could cut a loser. The less I needed to prove something, the more natural trading felt. When your identity isn't tied to every trade, you can finally breathe. You stop fighting the chart and start feeling the rhythm beneath it. You start realizing the market isn't random. It's rhythmic. And when you align with that rhythm, you stop seeing it as chaos. That's what traders call flow. That sweet spot where your execution, your mindset, and the market all move in harmony. It's rare. It's fragile. But once you taste it, you'll spend the rest of your trading life protecting it. Because it's not just profitable, it's peaceful. And when trading becomes peaceful, that's when you know you've finally grown. By the end of that phase, I looked back at my old self, the one who was forcing trades, chasing every move, reacting to every candle. And I just smiled. Because I finally understood what he didn't. You don't master the market by predicting it. You master it by mastering yourself. And that mastery, that internal stillness, is the foundation of every consistent trader on the planet. So when people ask, what's the secret? It's not a pattern. It's not an indicator. It's this alignment. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions move in sync with what the market is showing you, consistency stops being a dream. It becomes inevitable. And that alignment sets the stage for what comes next. The part nobody talks about, because it's not as glamorous as winning streaks or big profits. It's the quiet discipline of staying consistent once you finally get there. The maintenance phase. The part where most traders slip back into chaos. But not this time. Because the final stage of this journey isn't about building momentum. It's about protecting it. Here's where most traders fall off again. Not because they lose skill, but because they never build an identity around their progress. They start trading well for a few weeks, start feeling in control, and then boom, the old identity creeps back in. The identity of the guy who gets bored when there's no action. The identity of the woman who takes one loss too personally. The identity of the trader who says, just one more trade, even when the rules say stop. And that's why the final stretch, the phase where you sustain your gains, is the hardest. It's no longer about what you do. It's about who you become. You see, consistency isn't a habit. It's an identity. It's the quiet, grounded feeling that says, I'm the kind of person who follows through. Not because I have to, but because that's just who I am now. That's when discipline stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like alignment. Let's be real. When you've gone through the emotional grind of losing streaks, doubts, overtrading, revenge trading, sleepless nights, charts burned into your brain, and you finally start to see progress, your mind doesn't quite believe it yet. It waits for the other shoe to drop. It whispers, don't get too comfortable. It's scared this new version of you is temporary. That's why this phase, sustaining consistency, is all about proving to your own mind that the new you is here to stay. That this wasn't luck. That this wasn't a good streak. That this is who you've become. So how do you anchor that identity? How do you make consistency your default state? Start by reinforcing evidence. Every time you follow your rules, even when it's boring, that's identity evidence. Every time you walk away from a setup that doesn't align with your plan, that's evidence. Every time you take a small loss without emotional chaos, evidence. Most traders look for confirmation in their results. But identity-based traders look for confirmation in their actions. It's not, I'm consistent because I made money today. It's, I'm consistent because I did what my plan said, regardless of outcome. When you start living that way, the market stops being this emotional battlefield and becomes a mirror for your discipline. Now let's talk about something subtle, the consistency trap. When you get too comfortable being consistent, boredom sneaks in. And boredom is the sneakiest killer of progress. Because your brain has been trained for stimulation. It's used to chaos. It's used to drama. So when everything starts to calm down, it whispers, this is too easy. Maybe we can push it a little. Maybe we can trade more size. And that's the start of the relapse. Here's how you fight it. You replace excitement with meaning. You stop trading for thrill and start trading for mastery. You make the process your identity, not the results. You tell yourself, I find peace in repetition. I find confidence in boredom. I find growth in the small, silent wins no one claps for. That's when you transcend trading as an activity. And it becomes a meditation. Every click, every entry, every exit, a reflection of your inner stillness. The market becomes your feedback system. You can literally feel when you're drifting out of alignment. And that's your cue to step back, not push harder. Let's go even deeper. At this stage, you're not just managing trades, you're managing energy. You realize your state determines your decisions. So you start protecting your state like a sacred ritual. You don't check charts when you're angry. You don't chase trades when you're tired. You build boundaries that support the identity you're protecting. Because that's the truth. Discipline without identity feels like effort. Discipline with identity feels like flow. Now think about the last 30 days. You started broken, frustrated, maybe doubting whether you had what it takes. You made it through emotional storms, through days when you wanted to quit. You faced your inner voice, the one that said you always mess it up. But you didn't. You slowed down. You paid attention. You built habits. You let go of ego. And through that, you became someone different. That someone, this new you, isn't afraid of losing anymore. Because you know you can handle it. You're not afraid of missing out. Because you know patience is profit. You're not trying to beat the market anymore. You're trying to understand it, to move in sync with it, to let it reveal who you are under pressure. That's the real win. Not the money, not the fancy P&L screenshots, but the person you had to become to earn consistency. And the secret? That person doesn't disappear after 30 days. They're still there, waiting every morning you wake up, asking, are we living as the trader we said we'd become? That's your checkpoint. That's your reset. Because this game never ends. You'll face new challenges, new emotional pullbacks, new phases of doubt. But now you know the process. You know how to come back. You know who you are. And when you live from that place, trading stops being this endless chase for profit and becomes an expression of your discipline, your patience, your evolution. That's what turning consistency into identity means. It's not about controlling the market. It's about controlling your response to it, day after day, trade after trade, thought after thought. So here's the truth. If you can sustain discipline for 30 days, you can do it for life. Because the hardest part was never the market. It was convincing your mind that you were capable of changing. Now that you've done that, the market can no longer break you. You've turned what used to be emotional chaos into calm precision. You've transformed your losing streak into a system of progress. You've redefined what it means to win. And now, every trade is just another chance to prove it. So as you close this chapter, remember, the real profit is not the money. The real profit is the version of yourself that emerged through discipline. Because that version, the calm, consistent, grounded trader, is the one who can face anything. Welcome to consistency. Not as a goal, as who you are now. And if this 30-day journey taught you something real, if it made you see that trading is a mirror for your own growth, then carry that truth with you every single day. Because that's where the market meets the mind. Support the message. Buy me a coffee if this story reminded you what you're capable of. And remember, you're not chasing profits anymore. You're building the person who can create them, again and again.